This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. Dear family, I've been married to Hailey for 3 years, yet I remain a virgin.
Nope.
Hailey married me only to avenge her lost love, and so I became the dog she abuses at will. She plays the bride every day with a new groom each night, but our marriage bed has no place for me. I must also leave the house for 3 hours every night, so as not to disturb my wife and her young lovers. But that day, I left very slowly. She thought I was jealous. Haha, Rocky, you finally know jealousy, don't you? But you're not worthy. Since Tony died, no man is worth my fidelity. It's not that I can't afford a hotel. It's more cost-effective to cheat right in front of you. What are you dawdling for? Get out. I'm not jealous, nor am I deliberately lingering. What she doesn't know is, I have ALS. Not only can I not walk fast, but I'm about to die. Didn't I ask you to buy mustard-flavored condoms? How did you handle it? My wife Hailey angrily threw a handful of colorful condoms at my face. I asked several stores. They're out of stock. I tried to explain. Enough. You're just useless. Get out. Hailey's beautiful face is full of disdain and fierceness. Alright, boss Hailey, don't let this good-for-nothing disturb your mood. Actually, mint and vanilla flavors are not bad too. Hailey's new favorite, Jack, is a young and handsome man. Because of his great physique and skills, he was promoted from a security guard at the entrance to a personal assistant. Right in front of me, her husband, Jack hugged Hailey without any scruples, whispering in her ear, "Boss Hailey, how about we don't use contraception tonight? I want to give you a child. You little trickster. Do you think I don't know what you're trying to do?" Hailey said with a coquettish smile, stroking Jack's well-developed pectoral muscles. "Want to use a child to climb the social ladder? No way. My husband's position can only be Rocky's, because only in this way can I torment him to the fullest." Hailey tugged at the ribbon around her waist. Her skirt was specially made, connected only by a ribbon, easy to undress anytime, anywhere. The ribbon fluttered. The rose-colored long skirt slowly fell. Hailey's beautiful figure, honed by years of fitness, was fully revealed, with a well-proportioned figure, flat and undulating, complementing each other. Jack was swallowing his saliva. Hailey was also moved. He impatiently urged, "Rocky, I'm having an affair. Why haven't you left yet? Are you staying here to cheer as an audience? Don't worry, you won't get a share no matter how envious you are." Jack's hands were wandering on his wife's body. "Maybe your husband has a cuckold fetish." Slap. Hailey suddenly turned her face, gave Jack a fierce slap. "How dare you speak like that?" Jack was scared, thinking he insulted me, made the boss angry. But I'm not that narcissistic. I know it's definitely not like this. Hailey wishes I was more humiliated. Let me fall into the mud. To decay and rot is her greatest happiness. She's angry because Jack called her Smoke Smoke. That's a unique name for Tony. No one else is qualified to call out. "Sorry, I didn't know I committed a taboo." Jack wanted to explain, but he was kicked by Hailey in a rage. Kicked in the crotch. Smoke Smoke is also something you can call out. "Get out." Jack fled naked like a shrimp. I also moved out step by step, walking very, very slowly, like the lightning in the movie Zootopia, because I have amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, muscle weakness, atrophy, paralysis, numbness, limb paralysis. In the end, I will die as if frozen. Now, every step I take requires much more effort than an ordinary person. Hailey is oblivious to this. She thinks I'm deliberately dawdling, so she's even more angry. She rushed up and pushed me hard from behind. "Get out. Don't act like a lazy dog. That only makes me look down on you even more. Are you feeling very aggrieved inside? Angry and cursing me as a slut? Ha, yes. I am available to all men. Anyway, Tony is already dead. There is no man in this world worth my fidelity for. Any man is fine, but you can't touch me. I want you to be a lifelong virgin. Even when dead, be a ghost of a virgin." Tony was Hailey's first love. At that time, Hailey was very pure. She would blush even when speaking loudly. No one expected her to become so promiscuous later because Tony died in an accident while scuba diving with me. Not even his body was found. Hailey changed. She hated me, thinking I was the one who killed Tony because she knew I had a crush on her. My family was also very poor. That's when I planned to kill and silence. A conspiracy to gain wealth and beauty. Hailey went to the police, hoping I would be brought to justice to atone for Tony's life, but there was no evidence evidence at all because it was an accident. I am innocent, but Hailey doesn't believe it. She is obsessed. She thinks I committed the perfect crime, erased all the evidence. Since the law can't punish me, she will take revenge on me personally. It was the most difficult time for my family. My father's business went bankrupt and he committed suicide. My mother fell ill and couldn't get up. We still owed millions in debt. The creditors were forcing my sister to sell herself to repay the debt. Hailey found me. She promised to repay my family's debts, to treat my mother's illness, but the condition was that I would marry into Hailey's family. To be a son-in-law without dignity. Cornered. I could only agree. Moreover, I really like Hailey. I think she just misunderstood me. With time, she will understand. As long as I am good to her, she can also be moved by me. But I was wrong. Obsession is a demon in the heart. It's not so easy to let go. Many people describe an unhappy marriage as a besieged city, and I fell into eternal purgatory from the first day of marriage. Hailey tried every means to humiliate and torment me. She is very smart, knowing that physical pain is hard to endure, but the ravaging of the spirit is even more profound. So she ransacked my soul in every possible way, destroy my self-esteem. Isn't there any more refreshing insult than giving your husband a green hat? Hailey doesn't let me touch her, but she brings different men home every night, plays the bride every day, changes the groom every night. Rocky, it's not that I can't afford a hotel. It's more cost-effective to cheat right in front of you. Walking into the company, I can feel the eyes on me, full of sympathy or contempt. Hailey gave me a deputy director position in the president's office, seemingly prestigious, but without any real power. Every day's work is to serve tea for Hailey, being ordered around like a servant. Saying I am Hailey's dog is a compliment, because she treats the border collie at home much better than me. People are the most realistic animals, the people in the company. After understanding that I, the president's husband, am just a clown, I suffered countless overt and covert bullying and suppression, especially when those who gave me a hard time, without exception, afterwards were rewarded and promoted by Hailey. I had no dignity in the company, just like playing a game and leveling up by fighting monsters. In the company, belittling me can get a promotion and a raise. Be careful, brother Rocky. Just about to sit at my workstation, the intern Serena whispered a warning to me. Serena is a simple girl. Her conscience is still intact. I looked down and saw a dozen thumbtacks placed on the chair. If I sat down, it would definitely be a bloody mess. Thank you. I'm very grateful. Serena saw that I didn't fall for it. Those colleagues who wanted to harm me sighed in disappointment. Didn't get him. Bad luck. We'll have to try a new trick next time. They didn't hide their intentions at all, discussing in front of me how to make it more interesting to trap me next time. In their hearts, I am a coward, bullied, and can only swallow my voice. I dare not resist. Even in the past 2 months, I dare not even show an angry expression on my face, so they became even more aggressive, wishing to ride on my neck and defecate. They don't understand. For someone with ALS, the face will become more and more paralyzed and stiff. Whether it's frowning, staring, or roaring, it's getting more and more difficult. But my expressionless face, in the eyes of outsiders, has become an act of being cool, so the ridicule towards me is even louder. What a piece of shit. Who are you putting on that stinky face for? I really want to slap him. If we all slap him, will the year-end bonus be doubled? Serena just arrived. She doesn't know the complicated relationship between me and Hailey. She just feels I'm pitiful. You guys are too much. How can you bully people like this? Oh, I'm heartbroken. Do you have a leg? The colleagues are making a fuss, both ashamed and angry. Tears are about to flow out of Serena's eyes. Serena, don't worry about me. Don't get yourself into trouble. Just as I said this, the trouble has arrived. Hailey walked into the president's office, surrounded by a crowd of stars. Her smile was colder than the Antarctic glacier. Haha, lovers love. Rocky, you're quite capable. Can't feel the warmth of me, your wife, at home. So you hooked up with a pure girl? She pressed on, with a sharp breath. I remember I warned you. Only the officials are allowed to start fires. The people are not allowed to light lamps. I can do whatever I want, but you must keep your body pure for me. Be a good man and keep your male virtue. Serena was stunned. Only then did she realize that Hailey and I were actually husband and wife. Boss Hailey, I have nothing to do with brother Rocky. The little girl stammered, trying to explain. Presumptuous. Do you have the right to speak in front of me? Serena, do you want to be fired? Hailey was not so much punishing Serena as she was hitting me in the face. I gritted my teeth tightly, did not plead for Serena, because the more I pleaded, the worse the outcome for Serena would be. Not only would she lose her job, job. She might not be able to stand in this city. Hailey is such a ruthless woman. Her own cousin couldn't stand her bullying me, said a few fair words, was beaten by her bodyguard, and all her teeth were pulled out. Serena left crying. My image in the eyes of everyone became even worse. Announcement: from now on, Jack is the director of the president's office. The little lover was slapped and got compensation, and became my boss in one leap. Let the lover domineer over the husband. Hailey really put a lot of thought into humiliating me. Thank you, Boss Hailey, for your appreciation. Jack got a lesson. Dare not call out again. Come with me. Hailey took Jack into her large office. The blinds fell. People outside can't see what's going on inside, but they can hear the gasping sounds inside. Anyway, Hailey didn't intend to restrain herself. She even screamed hysterically on purpose. She's getting crazier and crazier. Not only does she stimulate me at home, now even the office has become a place to vent at will. The outside office area is filled with a strange atmosphere. Even those who always made fun of me before, at this moment, they all show a look of not being able to bear it. Must think I'm too miserable. They all can't bear to beat a fallen dog. I don't mind. Open the computer and write a will seriously. Arrange the aftermath. This disease I got can't be cured. I'm very calm. I even let out a long breath. It won't be long. I can be free. There are only my mother and sister in the will. There's not a word about Hailey. I think when I turn to ash, she will definitely flush me into the toilet and then live very happily, so there's nothing to explain to her. Actually, I once considered whether to tell her. The first person she fell in love with was me. It was Tony who took our love, but I think it's not necessary. Anyway, she won't believe it. In case she gets angry and retaliates against my mother and sister, I'm going to die. I can't take care of them anymore. I'm already unfilial enough. After getting ALS, at first, the face is stiff and numb. Fingers are not flexible. Can't hold a teacup with one hand. Can't wash my own hair. Like an old mobile phone that has been used for a long time, it always freezes, and people will become more and more silent because even the muscles responsible for speaking are atrophying. In the end, I will lose the ability to speak. Can only use an eye movement instrument to help express, and when the muscles for eating and breathing are affected, it means that death is knocking on the door. The third anniversary of Tony's drowning death. Hailey took me to the cemetery as usual. There is no Tony's ashes below. It's just a cenotaph. Every year on this day, Hailey forces me to kneel and repent. I did as she said. I'm not guilty, but I need money. I don't divorce Hailey also because of money. I don't love her anymore, but my mother is still in the hospital. The cost of hundreds of thousands every month can only rely on Hailey. She didn't regard me as a husband. I didn't regard her as a wife. She is the boss. I'm just working for her. I'm humiliated for the sake of money. I don't feel ashamed. Who makes money easily these days? So of course I'm not jealous anymore, even if she finds more men. It's a pity that she has never understood, but this time I didn't kneel, because my knees can't bend anymore. Kneel. Hailey's long hair is adorned with a white flower, swaying in the wind. Hailey, I speak with difficulty. Can you give me 10 million? This money is for my mother. I'm afraid I won't have the chance to ask for money later, so I want to ask for more. Rocky, you are really a beast. In front of Tony's tomb, you still have the face to be so greedy. Kneel and kowtow. Hailey went crazy and hit and scolded me. She desperately pressed me to kneel. My legs are like filled with lead. She can't press it. It seems like I'm provoking and resisting, unyielding and making a fuss. This is something she absolutely can't tolerate. Break his legs for me. Hailey issued a cold command. A group of burly bodyguards rushed up with baseball bats. A violent beating. I can't dodge or move. Crunch. My right leg was smashed by a baseball bat. I finally fell in front of the cold tombstone, smelling the fragrance of the grass. The bodyguards didn't get the order to stop. Continue to beat like rain. I finally fainted. In a daze, I heard Hailey arrogantly say to the doctor, "It's just a fracture. Do you still need to be hospitalized? Can't you just cast it?" I don't care about wasting money, but I don't want to waste time. But Miss Hailey, Mr. Rocky is dying. The doctor's words rang out. Hailey was stunned for a moment. In fact, I had already woken up, but I felt like I was sealed. The eyelids are as heavy as 1,000 pounds. How can I not open them? Hailey was stunned for a moment. Then she gave a signature cold laugh. Thanks to her, after getting married, I no longer believe in the nonsense of global warming. Dead. Are you kidding? Do you know how hard it is to beat a person to death? Don't say breaking a leg. Even if the whole body is broken, with today's medical technology, you can make him whole again, jumping and lively. You guys in the hospital are alarmist. Don't you just want to charge more money? I said, I don't care about money, but I just don't want to give him a reason to be a patient. There are still many tricks to play with him. The doctor sighed and left, leaving probably just the two of us in the ward. She rushed to my bedside, shaking my body desperately with both hands. Rocky, open your eyes for me. Don't pretend to be dead. Good people don't live long, but the wicked linger. You schemed to marry me. How can you die so easily? It's too irresponsible. My grudge hasn't been settled, and my hatred is still burning. How can you die? I felt like a small boat on the sea facing a storm, tossed about, and I wanted to vomit from the discomfort in my heart, but I still couldn't break free from this state that felt like being bound by chains. But inside, I was even more calm. I just heard Hailey cry, and she couldn't accept the fact that I was going to die. For a moment, I almost thought she had feelings for me, and that's why she didn't want me to die. But now I understand it's not about love. It's just that she hasn't tormented me enough. It's like a cat that has caught a mouse, not wanting to swallow it in one bite, but rather wanting to tease it to the fullest. I'm relieved she didn't say she loves me. My heart died long before my body. Stop it. What are you doing? Let go of my brother. Do you still think you haven't harmed him enough? He's about to die. Can't you show some humanity? It was my sister who came, the only relative who knew about my condition. Hailey, who had always been superior in front of my sister like a queen, suddenly lost her temper when accused, her voice timid. Sister, this is the first time he called me that, but my sister didn't care at all. Hailey, don't call me sister. You're not worthy. My sister came over and gently placed my head in her arms, pressing her face against mine. I could feel her hot and cold tears dropping on my cheek. Rocky, your sister is here. Has it finally come to this day? Didn't you say you could hold on for a few more months? Rocky, it's my fault. It's our family that has dragged you down. My sister held me and wept loudly. I wanted to tell her not to cry, that I was fine, that death isn't a big deal. I heard it said that there's no pain after death. From now on, Mom will have to be taken care of by you alone, and I'm shirking my responsibility. But I couldn't speak. Sister, you know he's sick. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Hailey asked sheepishly. Tell you? Haha. Hailey, would it have made a difference if you knew? You've been married to Rocky for 3 years. Have you ever treated him as your man for even a single day? In your eyes, he's less than a dog or a pig. Whether he lives or dies has nothing to do with you. I suddenly felt a salty taste on my face, the taste of blood. My sister was so upset and angry that she bit her lips until they bled. No, it's not my fault. It's Rocky who was punished for his mistakes because of his greed, Hailey murmured in a low voice. But as soon as the words left her mouth, she stopped. Even she didn't believe the excuse. Once, she thought I married her for her money. But these 3 years, apart from asking for medical expenses for my mom, I never asked for a penny more. I used to ride a bicycle to work. She was always on guard, worried that I was plotting her family's wealth, worried that I was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, usurping the throne. But the day after we got married, I showed her an agreement I notarized myself, which stated that no matter what happens, whether by death or divorce for any reason, I would not be entitled to a share of Hailey's family property. Rocky killed Tony, so I tormented him a bit. Was I wrong? Hailey seemed to have found a lifeline, clutching her most justified excuse. A crisp slap sounded, and I was worried about my sister being at a disadvantage. But I didn't expect that it was my sister who took action, and Hailey was the one who got hit. Shut up. You know very well that Tony's death had nothing to do with Rocky. The police said it, and you didn't believe it. The people who were there said it, and you didn't believe it. Rocky is timid and only dares to swim in the shallow water. It was Tony who insisted on swimming in the deep water. I heard he was in a bad mood that day and had been drinking, which led to the accident. Why blame my brother? If you have the ability, find the person who made him drink and dive in anger. And what qualifications do you have to pretend to be the victim's family? I met Tony's mother the day before yesterday. She said Tony was arguing with you the day of the accident. He wanted to break up with you, but you refused desperately. Because of this, Tony's mother has always hated you and has never contacted you over the years. My sister's words were like a knife, and Hailey was no longer sobbing but crying loudly. Stop it, I beg you. Don't say any more. Yes, Tony didn't love me before he died. He was angry with me and drank and dived because of the argument. His death is all my fault. My fault. Hailey cried hysterically. I was stunned. Tony had broken up with Hailey before he died, and it was the first time I had heard about it. Hailey had kept these thoughts in her heart for a long time, and it seemed she also needed an outlet to vent. She said that 3 years ago, her relationship with Tony was in crisis because Tony worked for a foreign trade company and met a blonde, blue-eyed, and voluptuous Western young married woman through work. He was deeply fascinated and even wanted to go abroad with the Western woman to indulge in pleasure. Hailey, of course, disagreed and had several fights with Tony, but Tony was determined and had completely lost himself in his infatuation. He couldn't extricate himself. Hailey was crying. "Can you believe this? How could Tony treat me like this? How could he abandon me? He was the man who once gave me light, allowing me to get rid of the ultimate darkness and pain. I used to think that Tony was the torch in my life that would never go out, always illuminating my path. It's all the fault of that blonde woman. She tempted Tony and led him astray." Hailey spoke very implicitly, and outsiders had no idea what light torch, darkness, dandelion, and pie dan night represented. But I knew that this originated from a very secret history of Hailey. Hailey's family was very wealthy and raised Hailey like a princess. Those years were very popular for girls to play the piano. Hailey's father specifically hired a very famous music professor in the industry to be Hailey's tutor, teaching her to play the piano in a closed piano room. Hailey's parents didn't expect this to be inviting a wolf into the house. That professor was a talented but unscrupulous, hypocritical beast. In the piano room, amidst the sound of Mozart and on the black and white keys, he violated young Hailey. Hailey didn't dare to speak out, and this became her biggest pain. In college, she was shy and introverted. Outsiders thought she was a proud and wealthy beauty, but in her heart, she had always been very self-abased. She didn't dare to socialize or fall in love, feeling dirty. At that time, campus forums were popular. She used the pseudonym Dandelion to talk about her experience on the forum, hoping to get everyone's support and encouragement. Unexpectedly, most of what she got was ridicule and insult. Society often has a deep malice towards women. Women who are violated are not only not victims, but also suffer from slut-shaming. Why didn't they bully others? Was it because you dressed provocatively and flirted? There is no smoke without fire. Even many people believe that this violated dandelion was already unclean, which means it was already cheap. They might as well go out and have fun with it anyway. Without being responsible, Hailey received a lot of explicit private messages, and she was very painful, almost suffering from depression, and wanted to commit suicide. At the critical moment, an alumnus with the net name Pie Dan Knight stood up and defended her, verbally fighting with those online hooligans, writing long texts, encouraging Hailey not to be inferior. "This is not your fault. You are not dirty. You are just injured." Driven by Pie Dan Knight, more and more just alumni began to speak for Dandelion. She got out of the mire, gained confidence, and was very grateful to Pie Dan Knight, even harboring feelings of love. She wanted to meet with Pie Dan Knight. It was me, the real Pie Dan Knight, but I was unavailable at the time due to an event off campus. My roommate Tony used my computer to play games and saw the meeting invitation sent by Dandelion. Initially, he didn't care, intending to meet Dandelion as a prank, only knowing her as an alumnus from the same university, unaware of her true identity. However, when Tony discovered that Dandelion was Hailey, the dream girl of many guys, he took it seriously. He impersonated me, claiming to be Pie Dan Knight, frequently meeting with Hailey, memorizing all our previous conversations on the forum to ensure no slip-ups. He was clever and good at winning girls' hearts, using Hailey's trust to be attentive in every possible way. At that time, I was participating in a volunteer activity organized by the school, going to the countryside to be a public welfare teacher for 2 months. When I returned, Hailey and Tony were already a couple. I was in pain because I also had a crush on Hailey. I even knew she was Dandelion because I once glanced at her screen in the school's computer lab, but I could only choose to keep this secret. I didn't want to embarrass Hailey because I could see she had fallen in love with Tony. Speaking out would be awkward for all three of us. Staying silent meant only I would suffer. There's a kind of love called letting go, and I was foolishly moved by my own sentiment at the time. Tony had gone mad, claiming to be the imposter Pie Dan Knight to compete with me for the school flower, Hailey. It was no joke to make on an international level. How could I mistake someone else for him? He must have been bewitched by that foreign woman, so to retain my night, I sought out Tony's mother to help me stop him. The foreign woman was in her 30s, had been married twice, and had 3 children. Tony's mother naturally couldn't agree, leading to a big quarrel between mother and son. She said if he dared to act recklessly, she would disown him. Tony was furious, drank alcohol, and had a big fight with me, blaming me for reporting him and saying our breakup was definite. Even if it meant death, it wouldn't didn't change. Later, he went diving with you and died. Did I cause his death? Would he have been fine if we hadn't argued? I feel very guilty, very regretful. I can't forgive myself. I could only find a scapegoat. Otherwise, I really couldn't hold on. I knew you liked me, so I took it out on you. I brainwashed myself every day, telling myself Tony died while diving with you. If Tony hadn't died, we would have made up, gotten married, and had children. So it's all your fault. Why didn't you save him? At first, I was just angry at you, but later, I brainwashed myself to the point of hallucinations, as if it was really your fault. I selectively forgot, as if I had nothing to do with the accident, and became even more abusive towards you. I'm sorry, husband. I'm sorry I was too willful. Hailey sobbed on my body because she knew I loved her. She thought no matter how she treated me, I wouldn't leave her. Even if she went too far, I would forgive her. I'm sorry, Rocky. I'm sorry I messed around with men every day when we first got married. It wasn't to provoke you, but to punish myself, but I fell in love with you later. I know you were the man who was best to me. I was just angry. Why didn't you get jealous? Why didn't you get angry? Why didn't you take the initiative to fight for me with those men? Your eyes were too calm, as if it didn't matter to you whether I was a virtuous woman or a slut. How could it not matter? I am your wife, so I could only deliberately humiliate and provoke you, hoping you would beg me to live a good life with you, hoping you would care about me as much as before. Was I wrong? Is this request too much? Actually, I had a sense of propriety. Look at how many men I found, but I never got pregnant unexpectedly. I insisted on making you buy contraceptives for me, which was an action to express my love for you, Rocky. I could have many lovers, but I kept a barrier with all of them. Don't die, I beg you. Husband, don't die. You haven't waited for the day I become sensible. Hailey was crying, and my sister was also crying. I was very distressed for my sister, but only felt Hailey was making a fuss. Hailey went crazy, using her family's influence to invite dozens of experts from the hospital dean down, saying no matter how much money it costs, they must cure me. The experts all said the same thing. It's hard to say what the future medical technology will develop into, but at this stage, my disease can't be cured, and I can't wait for the medical breakthrough. Hailey almost demolished the hospital, but what's the use? There are too many injustices in society. Only life, aging, sickness, and death treat everyone the same. Hailey was tired from making a fuss and was dragged by the bodyguards to get an infusion. My ward finally became quiet, but soon a man came in. Listening to his footsteps, it seemed to be a man. I heard you're going to die and haven't woken up yet. Men can be so scheming, pretending to have ALS to get Hailey's attention. Let's see if you can really move. The man who came in was Jack, his words full of jealousy, thinking I was pretending because Hailey hadn't favored him for several days. Let you pretend. Get up. Don't be so lowly like an emotional beggar, you shameless thing. Jack hit and panted on me, and now I'm no different from a sandbag. Jack, stop it. What are you doing? Hailey's shrill voice rang out. Boss Hailey, I miss you. Oh, why did you run here with 4 needles still in your body? I'm teaching this drama queen a lesson for you. No, Boss Hailey, I've been insomniac at night, and my skin is covered in acne. Do you see how haggard I am? Jack still wanted to act cute and pleasing, but a crisp slap sounded, and he was told to get lost. Get out of my sight. I don't want to see you again. Boss Hailey, Jack choked and said, I'm ordering you to get out. You're just my toy, and I'm tired of playing with you. You can never compare to my husband, not even enough to carry his shoes. Bodyguards, break his hands and legs for me. Hailey screamed hysterically, and a group of bodyguards rushed in. The same people who had beaten me up, now the targets of violence became Jack. Jack wailed miserably, crying as if his parents had died. It was really too noisy, and I couldn't help but frown, which was quickly noticed by Hailey. He moved. Can you hear the sound outside? Husband, call the doctor. Everyone, keep hitting him. As long as he doesn't die, beat him to death. My husband hates this pretty boy. He's been stimulated awake. Hailey cheered excitedly. I opened my eyes slightly. My hair was messy, my face pale, and there was still a needle in my right arm, blood slowly flowing from it, as if I couldn't feel the pain. Jack had already been beaten so badly that his facial features were distorted, and he was no longer recognizable. I'm sorry, husband. I will definitely save you. I've invited foreign experts and chartered a plane. When you get better, we'll live a good life. Hailey held my hand, chattering incessantly, like a mother-in-law, crying and laughing, like a bird that ate the wrong medicine. As soon as she said a word, I started coughing violently. Husband, are you okay? Hailey panicked, patting me on the back and feeding me water to drink. This was the first time she had been so gentle after marriage, as if she were a truly attentive wife. I coughed even more violently, and water sprayed everywhere. A group of doctors came in. You can't feed water like this? Do you want to choke him to death?" A male doctor snatched the glass of water and scolded Hailey loudly. Hailey's eyes were red and she stammered, not knowing how to explain. This is ocular paralysis. The tongue muscles are usually the first to be affected, characterized by atrophy, tremors, and weak extension of the tongue. Subsequently, there is dysphagia, difficulty swallowing, coughing when drinking water, and weak chewing due to the atrophy of the throat and chewing muscles. Another female doctor explained, "So if you're not careful, his life could be lost because of a sip of water." Hailey was so scared that she forgot to cry. "I didn't mean it. Is he saved now that he's awake? I've invited foreign experts, right?" The old doctor sighed and shook his head. "Miss Hailey, face the reality." Hailey cried again. I could see her vocal cords. Although I had woken up, the situation was getting worse. I had completely lost my motor abilities and could only lie in bed every day. I hadn't completely lost my speech, but the number of words I could say in a day wouldn't exceed 20. Hailey stayed by my side, never leaving, taking care of me without even combing her hair or washing her face. Hailey's family was wealthy and could hire many nurses, but she insisted on doing everything herself, not afraid of dirt or tiredness. People who didn't know the truth were very moved, saying that such a wife was rare. I didn't dare to move, not that I couldn't. I would rather she treated me like before. Her excessive intimacy only made me feel burdened. In addition to taking care of me, Hailey also wanted to reminisce about the past with me, but she found that we had no good memories in the past. After holding back for a day, her face turned red and she couldn't even come up with 20 words, which was more difficult than me speaking. You go," I said, taking half an hour to utter the sentence. "No, I won't leave. I will accompany you," she cried stubbornly. Yes, she is a paranoid woman. Once she decides on something, no outsider can change it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have tormented me for 3 years. Later, everyone in the company who had bullied and ridiculed me came to the ward to apologize, confess, and slap themselves. All the men who had been with Hailey also came to the ward to kowtow and apologize to me as if they were going to the execution ground. Hailey always had such creativity. She thought I must like these things and would feel relieved and vent anger. But in fact, what she did was to sprinkle salt on my old wounds, which was a foolish act. The foreign experts flew in and flew out. Her eyes were completely dimmed. That night, she didn't enter the ward. I listened to her sobbing in the corridor all night. The next day, she put on makeup carefully, covering her swollen eyes. "Husband, do you have any last wishes?" I was very pleased that she finally accepted reality and stopped making trouble for me, but I couldn't say a word anymore. Fortunately, after knowing I had ALS, I specifically learned Morse code. It is a signal code composed of dots and dashes, which is on and off at different times, expressing different English letters, numbers, and punctuation marks. After translation, it becomes useful information. Telegrams are also sent using Morse code. It also appeared in the movie Infernal Affairs. Now, I can only make 2 movements from head to toe, blinking and opening my mouth. I can express my meaning by sending Morse code through the number of times I open my mouth. My sister and I learned it together, and she can understand my meaning. Hailey cried and also wanted to learn from my sister. My sister originally disliked her very much, but her later performance touched my sister, and my sister agreed. It took 3 full days for me to answer Hailey's question about my last wishes. I didn't want to trouble her, but I couldn't rest assured about my mother. I made 3 requests to Hailey. First, take care of my mother, but don't tell her about me. Just say I went abroad. Second, help my sister, who is also a poor woman. After my family went bankrupt, my brother-in-law ran away. Third, give Serena, the intern who was fired because of me, a job. I feel very guilty because she lost her job because of me. Hailey agreed to all of them. She sent my mother to the best nursing home in the country, arranged a job with a monthly salary of $100,000 for my sister, and Serena became the deputy director of the president's office. These were all easy for her. As long as it was a problem that could be solved with money, it was not a problem for her. Then she seriously prepared for my funeral, bought a cemetery, and surprisingly, it was very close to Tony's grave. Was this for the convenience of visiting the grave in the future? I didn't like it, but I couldn't refuse. Then she chose a photo for my portrait, looking for a smiling one. My husband looks very good when he laughs, Hailey said, but I haven't laughed in 3 years. She could only go through my computer and accidentally saw my will. The will was very long, all written to my mother and sister, without a word, a character, or a punctuation mark related to Hailey. She broke down. Why isn't there me in the will? Don't you have anything to explain to me? She knelt half in front of of my hospital bed. Are you planning to die without forgiving me? I really didn't have love or hate for Hailey anymore. So the will, such a private thing, really wasn't suitable for mentioning outsiders' names. I begged her, give me a memento, okay? Add my name to the will. She knelt on both knees, tears streaming down like a spring. I softened my heart and promised her request. This time, I used the movement of my lips to send Morse code, and it took a full week to finally spell out a complete sentence. I want to divorce Hailey. As Hailey wished, I finally added her name to the will. No, I won't divorce you. Hailey bounced like a wasp sting, shouting hysterically at me, Rocky, I know you're annoyed with me, but you can't get rid of me. Even if you die, I will be your widow. My name must be on your tombstone. In the following days, Hailey was in a state of excitement. She suddenly found that she didn't seem to understand me very well, so she desperately tried to understand my past, and the secret was finally revealed. I was the Real Pi Dan Knight, and she had been mistaken all along. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Why did you let me love the wrong person all the time? She nagged in my ear like Xiangling's wife, and I could never tell her the real answer because she would always only believe what she wanted to believe. The most painful thing for a person with ALS is not death, but the lingering on before death. Before I died, I was completely frozen, but I could still think clearly. I knew everything but couldn't do anything. If someone killed me out of kindness, I would bless him to win the lottery 10,000 times in 3 generations. Unfortunately, there was no such hero, and I became a person trapped in a cocoon, waiting for the day of relief. I hope I don't have to wait like Godot. I knew Hailey was waiting with me, but I didn't like her company. It was like waiting for a ship at the airport. Thinking that after I died, she would be the first to hold my body and cry made me not so happy. During this period, a small incident occurred. Tony came back. It turned out he wasn't dead. The so-called diving accident was just a smokescreen for him to elope with a foreign woman, using fake death to get rid of family interference and Hailey's entanglement. But he was going to die too because he was infected with AIDS by that foreign woman. After learning the truth, Hailey got drunk and went to the hospital's reproductive department the next day. She said she suddenly thought of inheriting my legacy, which was to have a child for me, so she would have a sustenance and I wouldn't be ridiculed for cheating. Of course, I can't reproduce with her now, so she wants to extract my sperm and do in vitro fertilization. Even though Hailey has done countless bizarre things, none of them shocked me as much as this one. If I could jump, I would be scared to jump. Fortunately, I died in time before she extracted my sperm. I went to the West before she took my sperm. It felt so good because my soul was finally free from the shackles and got real freedom. Death is like flying. I was floating in the air, looking at my tombstone. In front of the tombstone, Hailey was lying there with a big cut on her wrist, blood gushing out. She had cut her wrist. I have to run quickly. If she catches up, I won't be able to drink the soup of forgetfulness alone. In a blink of an eye, I saw Serena, the girl who shielded me from the abuse. Serena saw my will and quietly made a wish. Rocky, I will wait for you in the next life. The end.